Jesse, round 22 has just happened. It's in the books. And so what happens when a round of football gets played? We got to get on this thing. We get our microphones working and we start talking about it and telling all the things that have happened. At CMPerfect_AFL, Instagram, Spotify, Apple, Amazon. As always, I missed one. YouTube, where you are now. If you're watching us, say hello, Jesse.
Hello.
Hello. Your thoughts on the round, Jesse? It was an interesting one, a strange one.
It was a strange round.
It was strange.
We were promised a couple of smashings that didn't eventuate.
Nope.
We had a couple of really unexpected good games of football.
Yep.
And we saw some real chinks in the armour. Only two teams in that top 9 lost this week, but there were cracks in the armour.
Mm-hmm. Well, and to add to the smashings we thought that were going to be smashings and weren't, there was one game in particular we thought was going to be a banger and wasn't. Mm-hmm. And that is where we shall begin, Jesse, on Thursday night footy at the MCG. 66,550 people saw the Hawks 17-8-110 beat the Collingwood Magpies 6-10-46. Now, one could say that this game was basically turned upside down in the first 90 seconds when Jeremy Howe got absolutely concussed, knocked out. Wasn't a fun thing to watch.
No.
However, that exposed a lot in the Pies. And I think we really saw earlier in the season, everyone was talking about how the Pies were old, they were slow. Then they started winning everything. We're like, well, maybe we're a bit early on that call. But this game looked to me like a bunch of young, hungry football players playing against some old, tired legs. Jesse, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, this was interesting. So going into this round, I said with Collingwood's poor form, they lost to Fremantle, the Suns. They lost to Brisbane, didn't they? They lost to Brisbane as well. So they lost to 3 top 8 potential teams around them. While that was concerning, they still had this opportunity to go out and prove that it was just a blip. You know, they're still a very good side. While that may still be true, and while Collingwood may still be a good side, I think we're seeing a real psychological beat-up in the walls of Victoria Park, and they'll play finals. I do think they can still... I think they'll have a home final, I'd say. I'd say they'll either eke out a top 2 by winning the next 2 games powerfully, or they'll slip out and end up with a home elimination final.
Yeah.
I don't think they finish where they are now in third. I think there's too much movement around them, especially given Fremantle and Brisbane had to play each other this week.
Correct, yeah.
And the Suns have a game in hand, and it's against Essendon.
Yep.
Oh dear. And their percentage is better. So I think we'll see some movement there for the Pies. What we didn't see from the Pies in terms of movement was movement on field. They were stunned.
Mm-hmm.
They were stunned by this Hawthorn side. This Hawthorn side who have been criticised all season for not being able to get it done when it matters, not being able to live up to the occasion. You know, they had Adelaide where they wanted them the previous week, couldn't get the job done. They were beaten early in the season by Collingwood. They've had trouble against Geelong as well. They were beaten by Fremantle at Optus Stadium. They haven't had it their way in this fashion against a good side all season. And they're doing it at the right time of year. They've got their best 22 set. I know they're going to be very much ruining No Will Day. But this is a good side, Liam.
Well, we keep saying they might ruin No Will Day, but they're doing very well without them. Amon's had a blinder the last month or two. He's been just firing up. Meek's been influential in the ruck, kicking a few goals as well. Newcombe has a presence, but, I mean, the captain, Sicily, leading from the front, 26 touches for old Sis, 9 marks, which was the game high, 434 metres gained, which was 4th in the game. You know, it's a tough season, but when you're the captain, like performances like that will just only help Hawthorn through September. And yeah, like you said, it's quite scary. They're hitting their straps at a very, very good time, the Hawks. Very good time indeed. But yeah, I don't know. The Pies, an interesting thing that I heard Matt Hill say, and as I said to you, I asked you this during the game, and you said if Matt Hill said it, it's got to be true.
Famously.
He was talking about how the Pies were managing players in-game. And I was talking to one of my mates at work who's a Collingwood supporter, and I kind of took that and I asked him, I said, do you guys have any depth? And even he had to kind of think about it and go, no, not really.
No, I don't think so either, to be honest with you.
Which is a concern because, I mean, they've got a team full of absolute superstars, megastars, some might say. But if they're trying to manage them in game, trying like DeGoey was meant to come off towards the end of the game. He played it right, but he was meant to come off towards the end of the game, but couldn't because of the injury to Jeremy in the first minute and a half. It's a dangerous tactic. Dangerous tactic indeed. Anything else to add about this one, Jesse, or shall we move on?
Let's move on
to Friday night footy at GMHBA Stadium. The Geelong Cats 15-19-109, defeating the prime time Bombers 10-5-65. Result expected, yes, but not the 100-point thrashing we thought it was going to be, Jesse. Look, let's be real. Do the Cats need to smash a team by 100 points with their percentage currently as it is? Probably not. I think they were very happy just walking out of there with 4 points and no injuries.
I mean, very much so. They still kicked over 100 points themselves. They kicked 19 behind. They won't want to do that very often. But look, credit to the Bombers. They showed up. They showed a bit of fight. They've had a very poor season. And I think one of the big issues we've had with the Bombers this season, Liam, is their lack of application, their lack of effort at times. Not only in games they should be winning, but also in games where they're expected to lose. They have rolled over and, just accepted a belly rub. And that belly rub is multiple boots into the stomach. Saying, ow, ow, ow. Stop it, Western Bulldogs. That's your 35th goal of the quarter. Stop it. But no, they were spirited here, the Bombers. McMahon looks a good player. Something that really caught my eye in the wash-up from this game was Brad Scott's press conference.
Oh, yes.
Noting that, his VFL forwards need to stop leading into spaces where AFL defenders intercept them, which I have two problems with.
Yeah.
One, your VFL forwards are outscoring your AFL forwards, so maybe go have a chat to Peter Wright. Mm-hmm. And while you're down there, how about you coach them to not lead into those spots, given you're the senior coach, Brad? I mean, have we just reached new levels of delusion?
Maybe. Which is a shame because, I mean, if you get the bomberometer out, I mean, they were like
they were 10. This is the best they've played all year. Like, forget the fact they've won 6 games. This is the best they've played all year. And in terms of spirit, in terms of energy, 100%. The best they've played all year.
And we saw a lot of teams at the bottom end of the table play with some spirit this week. That's for sure. I mean, Geelong
I have a theory on that.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Would you like to share it now?
The season's too long.
Okay.
And
we knew that already, though, Jesse.
Well, yes,
in terms of like your thoughts.
But you're starting to see now a bit of cumulative fatigue for these sides that have had to be so on it all season because they've had to keep winning a ridiculous amount of games to make finals. All of a sudden, you'd see. I mean, 4 of the teams in the top 9 hunt had narrow victories or narrower than expected. Well, 5 because Geelong goes into 5 teams in that top 9 hunt had narrower than expected victories this week. 2 of the top 9 lost. And then St Kilda and Richmond played a game of football. I'm informed. So I think the season is just too long. And I think 22 weeks, actually, you know what? Just quietly, 20 weeks. You want the product to be at its peak, make finals the peak product. So I think that's why we're starting to see some better performances from these lower down teams. Their candle's not as burnt. They're running through more players, in Essendon's case because of injury, but they're getting a bit more rotation through the team, whereas you're talking best 22 week in, week out, at all costs for some of these top 9 sides. Do you think you're starting to see? So potentially some upsets could brew in the next couple of weeks.
We will see. And look, credit to the Bombers. They did try hard, but I mean, they still can't score, can they? They haven't scored over 80 since against Richmond in May, I think it was.
Dreamtime.
And haven't got Dreamtime. That's right. They haven't got past 90 since April. So still some things to work on. McMahon, go on, just give the ball to him. He can kick it going. Why not?
That seemed to be the plan.
Yeah.
It used to be give the ball to Peter Wright, but now, I mean, he leads to the AFL spot, but, McMahon's in the VFL spot. So you've got to give him the ball.
It was very silly, wasn't it? Silly Brad. All right, let's move on, Jesse.
Just a dumb comment.
Just a dumb comment. We got lots of games to go through. Let's keep going. At the MCG, in front of a fairly decent 41,000, we saw...
fast.
Oh, well, Richmond 7-10-52. Going down to the Saints 8-8-56. It was a fun little end to the game, Could the Tigers do it? Could they not? But, I mean, for a game where the Saints dominated disposal by 72, had the top 4 individual disposal getters, top 4 individual tacklers, they still had to fight for the win, which I guess is, it's credit to the Tigers, they're still kicking on and staying in it where they can. But, I mean, that's still a worrying sign for the Saints, even though they've got a bit of a nice run going on with their victories at the moment. I mean, you'd still be asking questions about that, wouldn't you, Jesse?
Yeah, you would. The depth that's in Kilda, like Collingwood, is paper thin, and I think that's why they get themselves in the quagmire with teams like Richmond. And Richmond have been very spirited. These teams are only separated by a win 3 weeks ago. That's obviously Chase. Kilda have won 3 on the bounce. They've had a very soft end to the season, which they had to because they had a pretty brutal run during that middle part of the year. So we're starting to see them get some wins on the board. We're starting to see what their core looks like, and their core looks very good. They won't be pleased that it was as close as it was, but they got the job done, and they learnt that their leading guys can stand up in key moments, which is what the big takeaway has been from the last series. Even obviously Naz's heroics against Melbourne to one side. Windhager has been superb. Boxall got the Rising Star nomination this week. He was very good. I think we're seeing a lot from Taru, who had I think he had about 7 marks on Saturday. He was very good in the air for them and showing real command for such a young defender as well. So lots of little ticks here. McRae and Hill have been solid. Hill's actually done a lot better as the season's gone on. He wasn't looking very good in that first half of the year, but he's kind of worked himself into the season a bit, which is good for the Saints. There's promise here. This is the most optimistic I've been about the Saints in a very long time. And I think we're starting to see what this could look like if, and it's a big if, and I know I say this every single week, but he's still not signed, Liam.
Still not signed.
And we're mid-August now. Mm-hmm. He's still not signed, and there's only 2 games in the season to go. Very quick detour. I know we're probably going to get a time warning soon for this, but Michelangelo Rucci, who's a South Australian-based journalist, on SEN today declaring that Naz is going to leave to Port, Wilkie wants out, Windhager wants out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you say, oh, wow. Michelangelo Rucci is employed by Port Adelaide as a special content writer.
Oh, okay.
Something that is not really being caveated as it should be when these reports are being made.
Yeah.
He made them on SEN, so people are entitled to credit SEN as the source. There's no issue with that. But either he's very right or there's a bit of something going on here, and I don't necessarily think there's a lot of room for nuance in that. Given
a case of the Simon Goodwins, just putting things out there to see what sticks.
But look, yes, but in all seriousness, he's not re-signed.
No, got to do that pretty soon. And St Kilda, if you're watching this, I've put his full name in here this week, so you know.
That's when it's getting serious.
Yeah, you got to re-sign this guy. Come on, get on it.
Or we'll sign him. And he'll play here on the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast for the rest of his career. Yeah.
Yes. We can offer him $2 million a year. Easy, no problem. All right, let's move on, Jesse. We must.
If you subscribe, we can. Hurry up.
Oh, we have to get a jersey for that. We'll design one. All right, let's go, Jesse. Next game. The first upset of the round at the Gabba in front of 31,000 odd. 13-12-90 to the Lions, going down to the Swans. 13-14-92 in what was a scoreline that did not befit the actual, overall candor of the game, seeing as the Lions literally kicked 3 goals in about a minute to even it up. And even though they kicked that last goal with 5 seconds left, the commentators still thought they can do it, forgetting that the ball takes about 5 seconds to be bounced in the centre. But that said, Jesse, big win for the Swans, massive win. Doesn't do anything for them, but what it does do is sticks a big old wrench right into the Lions' guts. And you know what? If you're not going to make the finals and you're still got a pretty good team, then why not just ruin some parties, eh?
Yeah, why not? It does. It makes a trip west for Brisbane very uncomfortable this week to take on Fremantle because
huge game,
they would have been fine with the draw. They would have been on 62 points, no issues whatsoever. They get this job done. They don't. And that just makes things a little bit more complicated. I still think Brisbane are going to be there. I'm not saying we're going to go that far. The draw keeps their head significantly above water. It's a big help for them. In saying that, if Fremantle beat them on Saturday, the Giants beat the Suns.
Yep.
The Hawks get the job done against Melbourne, and the Dogs beat the Eagles. All but the Dogs are ahead of them. So all but the Dogs and the Suns are ahead of them. Dogs then play Fremantle, who are clear of Brisbane at this point in this scenario. Gold Coast get a freebie against Port Adelaide and a subsequent freebie against Essendon. That's
Could you
it.
imagine?
That's it for Brisbane.
Could you imagine that? Holy moly. This Friday against Freo is a huge game for a number of reasons, but we'll talk about that in just the tips when we get to that in our other video. You can come watch us there, give our tips at the end of the season. We're nearly there. But yes, it was a strange one. It was a bit of a freak win by the Swans in a way, because and we've spoken about this before on the podcast, is their forwards and their lack thereof. Heaney kicked 5? So you've still got one recognised forward. We've got one goal. Right.
That's not sustainable.
It's not sustainable. It's a nice bit of revenge, obviously. We like that. Well, they like that. I couldn't care less. But but Jesse, it's something that you've spoken about before. You're still worried about Dean Cox and if he's the right man for this job.
I'm not worried about it. I know he's not.
You know he's not. Team's still going backwards, you reckon?
I think so.
Even after all this last little renaissance for the end of the year.
I mean, okay, extrapolate. Yes, this is a big win for them against the Lions. That's a big win.
Mm-hmm.
They beat a bad Essendon side by 14 points, flogged by the Giants after dominating for the first half, beat North, beat the Saints by a goal. Yeah, they've won some games, but I'd be way more excited as a St Kilda fan about next season than I would be as a Sydney fan. Way more excited.
Fair.
You know, they'll probably finish on, I say maximum of 12. They will finish 12. They'll beat West Coast in the last round. They'll probably lose to Geelong this week. They'll finish on 12 wins. 12 and 11 is not a terrible record for an okay side. But this Sydney team made the grand final last season, and that record is just not good enough. And you look at the list, yes, they've had a couple of injuries, but you look at the list, and that's mostly the same. You look at the coach's box, say, aha, there's the difference.
Yeah. Hard to argue. Anything else to add about this one, Jesse, before we kick on?
The Lions just need to remember they won't be playing these guys in finals. If they can shake it off and come out strong against the Dockers on Friday, they will be fine.
They'll be fine. Oof. All right, let's go to the next game, Jesse. All right. This was an interesting one as well, in some ways. Carlton 11-8-74 going down to the Suns 13-15-93, who get it done once again. Edging ever closer to the finals for their first finals berth, and you'd think with those the game in hand as well, they should be okay.
They'll be there. They'll be there. I'm pretty happy to declare the Suns will be in the 8 at this point in time.
Carlton had a bit of a comeback though. I think at one stage it was 84-30 something, and then the Blues decided they wanted to play a little bit, Jesse. And
you can understand that because it's been a very difficult run for Carlton this season. Michael Voss reaffirmed as the Carlton coach into 2026, and
good idea.
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm glad they've made the call now.
Yeah.
And the last few games of this season don't exist in a worthless vacuum where literally nothing matters. At least now there's an element of we can get our fit, we can get ourselves right, we can get our structure right, we can get our best 22 right. And you said, look at Frankie Evans' last 2 weeks. Standing up and being a real guy saying, you know what? We haven't figured out the Matt Owies 40 goals missing all season. Let me do it. Let me take that responsibility. Hewitt has just quietly cemented himself as Carlton's best player this season. He is that. He's probably the one that's going to carry them forward beyond, but he's also a 200 gamer, so, how much longer does he have this level of prod at? They need to get some help around him. Jagger Smith looks right for day one of preseason. That's a big tick. De Koning will go. Mackay and Kerno, where do we stand on that?
Mm-hmm.
Wiedering, I actually don't think Wiedering had a great game on Saturday night, but he's still an elite defender. Haynes is getting an extension. So we're starting to see the benefits of the Carlton's board decision to be consistent with Voss.
Yeah.
On the other side of the coin, the Suns got the job done. They may have thrown this game completely away last year when Carlton came at them and said, right, it's time to fight. They didn't. Ben King's 6th straight is a big part of that. Matthew Rao's presence around the ground is a huge part of that. They did it without Noah Anderson as well. I know he's on the field, but they did it without him. He had 19 touches. Lord quelled him in a brilliant tagging performance. Very rare one where you end up just completely squashing your opposition midfielders hope, and also getting the ball yourself, which is a double win for them. Big win for Gold Coast in that sense. They can go far.
Oh, I think so too. And I'd be excited to see them up there as well. But just on Tom De Koning, obviously he won't be there. Has he mentally checked out already? Do you reckon? Because Witts had the best of him, big time. Twice as many hit outs across the night. you'll pay 1.7 mil for this guy, but he hasn't shown he has the kind of the mental gumption to continue on this year. Surely there's got to be some sort of wiggle room there. But then again, do you get him if you say, actually, just 1.3, actually, which is still a shitload of money, by the way.
I mean, I think if, serious football clubs would be saying that right now. They'd be saying, you're not worth 1.7 million, Tom, off what you've done this season. You've done a reverse contract year, which is almost unheard of. The anti-Trent Crode. Going completely backwards in a contract year when you're meant to go forwards and sucker in a team to pay more money for you. See Dylan Shield. Yep.
Fair. All right. Anything else to add about this one, Jesse? Shall we move on?
Yes, let's.
Let's move on to Saturday night footy at Adelaide Oval. The Power 13-8-86, falling to the Dockers 13-14-92 in the Dockers' first ever win against Port in Adelaide. Hurrah, hurrah.
Wrong, at Adelaide Oval.
What did I say?
You said in Adelaide.
Correct. At Adelaide Oval. Where else did they play?
They played at Amy Stadium for 20 years.
Oh, pish posh. It was
no, not pish posh. It's a different ground.
Is it? Okay, fine.
It's like saying they've never won at Marvel because they've played at the MCG for the past 100 years. You turnip.
I am a turnip. You know this to be true, Jesse. That's fine. Is it kind of like a Subi Optus Stadium situation?
Yes.
Oh, I'd say good. The more you know. All right. I don't know. When did that happen? Doesn't matter.
What is happening?
Look,
Which is actually what I was saying for most of that game, funnily enough, because the Dockers certainly went out of their way to make that as hard as possible. Got the job done. Just Patrick Voss silenced the middling crowd at the Adelaide Oval.
That is when you use a shush, not when you're 50 points down.
Look, I mean, there were plenty of people very quick to point out there was a comparison between Harley Reid and Patrick Voss's shush. One guy cut the margin to a close to respectable 42 points. The other one put his side up in a must-win game, kicking his third goal in doing so. There are levels to that. But there are also levels to Port's performance here because they were very good.
Yeah.
And they showed that, hey, just quietly, these guys are a top 8 list. The wheels have fallen off this year. It's been a disaster for Port across the board. But they had moments. They had their moments. They looked threatening. Brennan Cox was phenomenal to quell Georgiades because on another night, Georgiades wins this game for Port.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Butters pull the trigger more and back himself going for goal because he doesn't. He looks for teammates. And, it's great. It's unselfish. But this guy could be one of the best mids in the comp.
Well, I think it was a stat saying he'd only kicked one goal this year, which is hard to
one goal this season.
for an elite mid.
Yeah,
is probably not good enough. But I understand what he's doing. He's obviously doesn't have that confidence, but still.
I thought Jordan Sweet was really good too, as well.
Yeah. Aaliyah was staunch up back as well.
He was.
Don't hear his name a lot this year, but it's still good. But Boak, Wines, and Aaliyah, 3 top possession getters for Port. We're talking a lot about age tonight. They're all on the wrong side of 30. So Josh Carr coming in next year. Can you turn it around, Jesse? Can you turn it around in time for 2026?
Well, if you can,
do you reckon it's rebuild time?
If you can stage your Raven, Zaya Wangan and Miller, you're potentially talking a top side next year.
Could you imagine?
Like, imagine? I think that probably convinces. I don't know how they're going to do it dollar wise, but that would convince Zach Butters to stay. You'd almost be certain of that. So let's go with what we would get. We'd get Horn Francis, Wangan Miller, Rose. That's pretty good.
So that's very good. That's very good. Elite. Dockers, Jesse, obviously a fantastic win, much needed win, coming down to the final mark from Alex Pearce, right there in the goal line. I know, not the goal line, you know what I mean? But you said it reminded you of Leo Barry, but that was like nearly, if it was more of a pack there, identical to J-Lo's. Identical.
Yeah. So I look forward to Pearce coaching the club in 20 years' time.
That's how it works.
And I honestly just get to get my AI assistant to just regurgitate the same lines I've used for the last 5 years. No, look, it was a great moment. It was a great sense of game awareness from Pearce, and it's something that I think at times has let him down. Is his game awareness, but knowing where he needed to be in that moment, it's a big tick. And it was a great moment. It's a moment that will go down in for our folklore if the Dockers make the finals.
Yes.
And that's still an if.
It's still a massive if. It's a big, big game, as we've mentioned before, for Brisbane and Freo coming up this week. That is for sure. Strong was great as always. Jackson was super. Erasmus had one of his best games of the year out there as well. Definitely up there. I put Reed in the best because I just like him. All right.
And you know what? That's fair enough too.
That goal, we had some great goals. Sarong's little steal.
Sarong's goal was brilliant.
Chef's kiss. All right, anything else to add for this one, Jesse, before we move on to Sunday?
Yes, because Freo have a couple of depth players that they can bring back in that will make this team better. That's a good sign. You know, Johnson come back. I think Walker for Banfield has to happen.
Yeah.
I think that's a big positive.
We've got good depth. We've got
We
good
do.
depth. I like it. I like it a lot. All right, let's move on to Sunday footy. Jesse, starting with 2013, 133 to the Giants, beating the North Melbourne Kangaroos 12-7-79 at Manuka. What's to say about this one, Jesse?
It happened. The Giants
Okay.
won.
Yep.
North. Look, this could have been 120 points at one stage. So credit to North, they didn't drop the fight, and they showed they want to compete and they actually want to improve. It was always going to be a tough day at the office. The Giants executed well. They had some very freakish numbers from key players. Callahan had a brilliant game. Cadman with 4 straight as well, you know, really cementing himself as that key replacement for Jesse Hogan moving forward. At least we can start to shift those roles between the two of them. So big ticks all around there. Cal Brown was fantastic. I think he kicked 5 in the end. So a number of key performances from the Giants. You know, really, there's not a lot to say about this. This was the most expected of the expected results all week. We got what we expected to see. North can take positives, knowing they've still got a bit of work to do.
There are positives though, Jesse.
There are.
All those young kids, all the youngins coming through. I mean, Trembath and Payne, they look good on debut. It's good to see some of
Trembath
these new
kicked 3, so absolutely.
Trembath. And then she's all Wardlaw, McKercher. We're liking McKercher. He's been very good recently, well, all season, but they've got a really good young team coming through.
They do.
And, you know, having those older heads like your Parkers, your Darlings in there kind of guiding them a little bit for their last kind of the twilights of their careers is only going to set them in good stead. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the Kangas progress in the next couple of years. Obviously only the 4 wins, 1 draw this year, but still 2 more games to go. They could get a couple more. Who knows? I've got Richmond this week, so who knows? But no, I'm liking it, Jesse. But no, you're right. Nothing much more to say. Shall we move on?
I think we should.
A couple of interesting ones to finish up because probably a lot closer,
Yes.
both of these games than what we thought they would be. The Demons 15-9-99, just going down to the Dogs 15-15, 105. This would have been obviously very good for Freo if the Dogs decided to do something very silly. But credit to them, they got the job done in the end, much like Freo did in a game they should have won as well. So, you know, swings and roundabouts. But the D's looked very good in this game, and they nearly got it done. Your thoughts on this one, Jesse?
Spirited D's, wasteful Dogs.
Yes. I mean, they literally won by 6 behinds. And it was kind of uncharacteristically wasteful Dogs because normally they're dead eyes. They were spraying it all around the place. But
I think maybe a sense of occasion getting to them.
A little bit. But I mean, that's probably not what you want this close to,
No.
this close to fighters because when the occasion begins. But they were 15. They were plus 15 for the inside 50s. That
15,
shows
15 and plus 15 on the inside 50s.
Yeah.
That's remarkable. How fun are numbers?
Did I just glitch out and say 15 like 6 times just then?
And if you remove the O, they kicked 15 points in total.
15, okay, gotcha.
Did they kick any 15-metre passes?
No, because you can't do that. You're not allowed. It's forbidden.
Sorry.
It's forbidden. Sorry, Jesse.
And Melbourne kicked 15 goals. So many 15s.
Do you know what this is, Jesse? One of your favourite shows has this. It's numerology. What does this all mean? Can you add them all together? How many? Wait, what is the...
Don't prompt me to do that. If you're going to put bits in, at least give me a heads up you're going to put the bit in.
No. It's more fun if we just ad-lib the bits. What are we talking about, Jesse? I mean...
Actually, I do know tennis scores, so maybe we can go with that.
Okay.
Well, in tennis terms, it's 30-15. And then add the plus 15 inside 50s. It's...
Do you know what this is? This is the end of the podcast sillies that are kicking in.
I cannot stress this enough.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
That's right. But anything to actually say about this game, Jesse? About the actual game itself?
No, because I don't think it actually take a lot out of this.
Fair.
I think this game exists in a vacuum until proven otherwise by subsequent performances. Like, if the Dogs come out and have a stinker against the Eagles next week, yeah, sure, we can go back and revisit this. But I think this is one of those games where a lot went wrong for the Dogs, a lot went right for the D's. You know, Melbourne are going to finish the season in bottom 6, more likely than not. Dogs are going to finish in the top 9, maybe the top 8.
Mm-hmm.
They've just got to get the job done as professionally as they can this week and then worry about the pre-final.
The two West teams stand in their way.
They do.
Stand in their way. And speaking of the West teams, Jesse, let's move on to the last game, which was, very surprising. Like, almost like, where has this been ever? 12-6, 78 for the Eagles, just narrowly going down to the Adelaide Crows, 13-9, 87. 9 points, and to be fair to the Eagles, they were ahead for most of this.
They were.
They
made this as hard as possible for the league leaders to get the job done here. Now, you can take many angles out of this. Wow, that's bad from Adelaide. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's terrible from Adelaide. How are Adelaide this bad against the Eagles? But I think it's important to focus on the fact that this is a great performance from both teams here.
Mm-hmm.
Because Adelaide were not expecting the fight of their lives coming into this game. They managed to dust themselves off, reorganise, and get the job done. West Coast, who have won one game all season, been horrific in the last month leading into this game, were farewelling two of their legends. They galvanised. They played their best football all year. They potentially played their best football since 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And almost pulled it off. Now, I know the win-loss column is the defining stat in the AFL and will be the defining piece when we do a season review for the Eagles in a couple of weeks' time. But this is what you hold on to as an Eagles fan going into the off-season. You don't worry about what's Harley going to do. You don't worry about, are we going to lose more players to retirement phase? We didn't get Darcy Cameron, oh no. We didn't get Chad Warner, oh no. This is what you focus on. The fact that Job Shanahan dominated up forward against a potential minor premiership side. You focus on the fact that Ruben Gibney quelled Riley Thilthorpe for the better part of 3 hours.
That's huge. That's massive.
That's enormous.
Yeah.
You know, there are clear positives. Campbell Chesser, now he's getting himself on the park. We can see a player in there. You know, we're starting to see little bits here and there outside of the senior players who all admittedly stood up on Sunday, but we're starting to see what we've needed to see for the last 4 seasons. And that's the kids taking the accountability and say, we're going to run the show here. And there's still been, Harley Reid still come back in the side. Jewel was best on for the Waffle Eagles on Saturday. I do think he's best 22 as well. So you're talking players coming back into this team. They're going to have a good draft hand this year. I think this is really promising for them.
No, it was a great showing by the Eagles. Tom Cole was great as well. He was showing some good signs down back as well. Look, there's a lot of good things to say about the Eagles in this one. And again, like we said about the Dogs, like we said about Freo, they got the points, didn't they? And at the end of the day, that's what they had to do. But yeah, good on the Eagles for giving him a red hot run for their money, though. I think everyone probably would have liked to have seen the upset because it would have been quite the story. But hey, them is the breaks. Jesse, that's the round of round 22 action covered so succinctly as well.
So succinctly.
As we always do. Send the lovely people home, please.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast. If you are on one of our preferred podcasting platforms, a review is much appreciated. If you're on Spotify specifically, you can comment down below your thoughts on the episode as it unfolds. If you are on YouTube, thank you for watching this. Don't forget to check out our deep dive, which is a separate video on YouTube covering Melbourne's potential cliff they're facing in the coming seasons. For both podcast and YouTube audience, just the tips, our weekly preview show is only on YouTube, so make sure you keep an eye out for that one as well. That releases on the Wednesday. But the best type of review you can give us is word of mouth. So you need to tell your friends, you need to tell your family, you need to make sure you go around to every single person at your finals party that you're getting ready for and say, you must subscribe. It has to happen. We don't care about Gold Coast vs GWS defining a season. We're just going to put on reruns of the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast all game because that's probably going to be, hopefully, more insightful. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, enjoy your football weekend. We'll see you soon on the Centimetre Perfect AFL podcast.
Bye, everybody.